What I'm going to talk about now, yes, it pertains mostly to marriages, but within the family circle it does, within a dating relationship it does. So for the young people, it is beneficial to you too. So I'm going to talk about two things very quickly. I'm going to talk about the 4 fires of connection. Then I'm going to talk about the 4 red flags of destruction. The 4 fires of connection and the 4 red flags of destruction. The first fire of connection is physical connection. Physical connection. So, Brian, when you laid eyes on Micah the first time, the very first time, you better remember very well. Do you remember what about a physical? What is it that got you to look and look again? Her eyes, all right? Something about her eyes that attracted you. There was a connection, right? Michelle, Charles, right? Michelle, what was it about Charles, about his physical, that got you connected, that got you to want to get to know this person better? Definitely not his hair, eh? Or his lack of hair. What was that? The way he was walking. Whoa. All right, so it was in the walk. Okay, anybody else? No, time doesn't allow me to, but you get the idea of how you can extend this thing if you have all the time, all right? So, physical connection, yes, that, if we have to be real, right? It was something about your wife's physique that got you interested or connected or that attracted you first, right? So that generally is the very first thing, the physical connection. Now, if that is the only thing that connects you to your spouse, then 20 years later, you're going to be in trouble. When after 2 or 3 or 4 children, the physique is not the same as it was 20 years ago. And if that was the only thing that attracted you or connected you to your spouse, you're going to be in trouble as far as your relationship is concerned. Because there are others now that look better. Your wife looked like that 20 years ago, but today there's others that looked like she looked 20 years ago, and you could be in trouble in your relationship. So physically, yes, it's important, but it cannot be the only connection, right, within a relationship. So we're going to look at the past, the present, the future, right? Physical, yes, it was the past, it was the first thing. In the present, it has to be still important. So what is my point? My point is, don't let go. Don't take care of yourself. Your spouse deserves that. Your spouse deserves you. No, you may not have the exact same body, but you can still keep yourself neat, can't you? Are we together, everyone? You can still keep yourself fit and in good shape, not dragging yourself all the time, What attraction is that for your spouse? And that goes both ways, all right? You've got to keep yourself up. Don't be like a 16-year-old. That's not what I'm saying. But you owe it to your spouse to still keep yourself physically. Isn't that true? Right? We deserve that, okay, as spouses. So that's present. Future, you continue. Right? First sight, we spoke about that. Physical appearance, we spoke about that. Keep yourself healthy. Keep yourself... What physical attraction is that? When that's all that happens, right? Keep yourself healthy, right? Maintain a healthy lifestyle so that that physical connection can continue throughout your marriage or within your relationships, right? Take care of yourself. The red lights is if you let go. You're going to get yourself in trouble. Come on, man. Your spouse deserves for you to be there, right? Red lights if you let go. Don't let go. All right. I don't have time to expand on all these things, so I'm just going to hop over all of them. The second one is intellectual. Intellectual connection. What are we talking about here? How are we able intellectually to connect? Now, we spoke about the physical connection, right? There was an attraction there. But intellectually, are we able to connect? Are we able to have deep conversations? Or our conversations, does it circle around, did you see how she was dressed today? Do you know how they look? What does she think she is? Oh, how can they do that? How can the preacher talk so long? How can this guy make so many jokes in the church? You know, what does he... Is that the level of communication that you have, and that's where it ends? Or are we able to have deep levels of communication? And I've got something that I want to share with you here today, or show you, with regards to helps along communication, because communication is very important, right, within marriage. You heard Franzel say that's the number one reason why people divorce. Communication is down to nothing because we just surface communicate. There are 5 levels of communication, right? And the lowest level is superficial level, is that first level, talking about others. Talking this chit-chat. No deeper level of connection between the two. So here we have a resource that we have at the conference. It's called the Marriage Deck. We're working on the Family Deck as well. So this is a set of 52 questions that get you going with regards to deeper level of conversation. Instead of talking about the this and the that, right, that really connects you nowhere. You can come and have a look at this, and you can obtain this from us. But very valuable, very, very valuable, that takes you deeper into conversation and communication and gets you to connect with each other on an intellectual level. Intellectual connection also refers to, similar interests that we have. And even if we don't have similar interests, I have an interest in geography, right? And my wife's got an interest in sociology, which is very different fields. But we can complement each other. It doesn't have to polarize each other. Are we together, everyone? I can show interest in my wife's interest, and she can show interest in my interest. Or, even better, we can have similar interest, and then we can enjoy this even more together. All right? Oh, there's so much more on intellectual that just time doesn't allow me to go into it, but you get the idea. Right? Emotional connection. Emotional connection. Right? Probably the last one. Let me start there. Emotional connection is, how safe do I feel in your presence? If I'm going to say something, am I going to be judged or criticized for what I just said? How comfortable do I feel in your presence? You make me laugh. You must have such a ball with your husband that sometimes probably it gets too much for you to handle. I was at his house. He doesn't stop. He's got so much, an arsenal of things to make you laugh. But how comfortable do I feel in your presence? How do you make me feel? I feel safe. I feel I can laugh. You make me laugh. Now, can you imagine? I'm jumping now very far, right? There's a lot of in between. Because of time, I'm jumping very far. Can you imagine if that stops in a relationship? And at work, there's this guy. You know, he's just so funny. This guy makes me laugh. I can't wait even to get to work. He makes the day go by so quickly. You know, and then you get to that thing, you know, that line. I never planned to. I didn't have that in my mind. I was just enjoying his company. He just made me feel so good and happy. And in my mind, when I get home, it's, the work, the cooking, the children, the this, the that. A husband that's grumpy and complain about everything. And there's this guy at work that just makes me laugh. And I didn't want to. I didn't plan to have. What was that? There was an emotional connection between the two of us. And based on that, we found ourselves in an affair that became physical, but it didn't start physical. She's not even attractive, come to think of it. But why did I get myself into this thing? I never planned to. Maybe it was an emotional gap that there was, that this one fulfilled. So that's a red flag. That's a red flag for me in my marriage, the importance of the emotional connection in a relationship. Are we together, everyone? And so for dating, that's the same, right? Don't just go for the tall, dark, and handsome. 10 years, 20 years, he's going to look different. So it's got to be bigger than that, all right? It's got to be mental. It's got to be emotional, all right? And the last one is spiritual connection. Spiritual connection. Now, if I have to single out one that I can relate to all of them, but one that really stands out for me in my marriage relationship is this one. I cannot thank the Lord enough for giving me a wife that is deeply spiritual. Deeply spiritual. Now, she's not perfect. She's not perfect. 3 of us here that can attest to that, and neither am I perfect, all right? But I tell you, spiritually, and I remember when we started dating, the conversations was very nicely, we connected intellectually very quickly, all right? Emotionally, it doesn't stand out. Maybe it was there, it had to be there, all right? But spiritually, we connected. It started with music, right? I sang in a group, the Harmonies. Some of you may know the Harmonies. And we had just recorded recently, that time it was the cassette tape, right? That was 80, 84, 85, somewhere around there. No, 90, 95, 96. Somewhere around there we recorded. And so she liked music. When I went to visit her, she had Lionel Harris, the best of Lionel Harris, 10 years, something like that. And of course, Heritage always. And then I brought my recording. I'm on the picture, few ticks in the book. So I gave it to her, and I said, that's mine, and she gave me, and that's a sure way that she could make sure that I come back. Careful of the women, full of tricks, right? So she gave me very freely, she gave me the music because she knew I had to come back, right? But so gospel music started, but then very soon I realized, she loves the Lord. And she is all over in a relationship with the Lord. And that really connected me. And I can tell you today, when she's up front doing a presentation, and she does it very often, whether it's Sabbath school program or a health talk or a family life talk or whatever, it does something to me. Because that time, it was probably of the 4, the biggest one. For me, right, that was most meaningful, the spiritual connection. And today, it still makes my heart beat. After so many years of marriage, it's still. So that is important, not just the spiritual, but the connections, all right, is very important. They keep your relationship. So, when you fall in love, it's these 4. One of them, 2 of them, all 4 of them when you fall in love. You saw this guy, the eyes, the whatever, and you in love with this person. It's either one of those 4, or it's all 4, or it's some of them. All right? To stay in love, they got to remain. To stay in love. You heard Franzel speaking about people, one of the reasons why they divorce, they fall out of love. They fall out of love. Now, let me tell you, all those communication, all those reasons why people divorce, the entire list, they are connected with the 4 fires of connection. Communication, which is the highest reason for divorce, according to that list, and I saw that same list of the law firm, right? Communication is a problem because there's either a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical disconnect. That's why there's a communication problem. Intellectually, we can't. We surface talking. So there's no deep things that connect us to each other. All right? So all of the reasons why people divorce is because of a disconnect on any one of those 4, or all 4, or some of them. All right? So that is what got you in love, and that is what's going to keep you in love, and that's what's going to keep you throughout eternity until Jesus comes in love. So value these 4 connections.